This is SAF Mo, your prison lawyer. This is SAF Mo, your prison lawyer. This is SAF Mo, your prison lawyer. And I know you've been waiting for another dope installment of IGSTS. Oh yes, the waiting is over. This the counterculture to mainstream media bullshit. SAF Mo, IBYB. You can't see me unless you're around me. You feel me? Let's do this.
IGSTS, this is SAF Mo, your prison lawyer, with my man
Ron B in the middle.
My man
Ron B in the middle.
My man.
I ain't saying it again. Fuck you.
Hey, IGSTS, SAF Mo, prison lawyer, with my man
Ron B in the middle.
We bringing you the motherfucking heat, man. We got two gentlemen coming up to talk to you from IWOC, instrumental. And if you don't know, they don't explain to you what they've been doing in Minnesota and how they've been changing, how they've been instrumental in getting people released early. Mm-hmm. I just said it. I know white people running, trying to grab. They instrumental in getting people released early. But these people aren't being released because of anything other than it's what the law says. Right. And they're also going to talk to us about restorative justice. I know that a lot of people get spooked when you say restorative justice because they believe the only thing that works is the criminal justice system.
No, they think the only thing that works is lock them up.
Well, that's the criminal injustice.
Lock them up.
Yeah.
Lock them up.
He did something to me. Something to me. I'm going to put him in, I want him in prison forever.
Yeah.
He black?
Lock him up.
Execute him. You know what I'm saying? But
they don't understand that the families need some closure. That the family want to know why.
Yeah.
99.9% of the time, when somebody, when a victim is victimized, a family member is victimized, 99.9% of the time, the number one question is why? Why did you do this to my son? Why did you do this to my daughter? Why did you do this to my cousin? Why did you do this to my mother? Why did you do this to my father? Why is the number one answer question.
Then after that, instead of them wanting the person to be in prison forever, what they want is that person to come out and not do that crime again, not hurt anybody else. Mm-hmm. So
they want some closure.
And I think what David pointed out, and I think is very important, is that individuals who go to prison and come out, it's what we should assess them by is the level of harm, not whether. It goes back into whether they're gonna do the crime again, but level of harm. If a person's harming themselves and doing stuff that's harming themselves, why is that an issue when that's like? So what I'm talking about is a person who's addicted to alcohol, addicted to drugs, doing things like that.
Yeah.
You know,
and a lot of times people have forgiveness in their heart and they want to see this person
do better.
Yeah. And they want to know why.
Right.
And they want to see the person do better. And so they can get some closure and be at peace in their life.
Yes.
After the loss.
This is episode 22. This is IGSTS. I'm SAF Mo. My man
Ron B in the middle.
Show him we are
the voice of the voice.
We are the voice of the voice. Who did those cuts? Who did those cuts for us?
Shout out to Patty at Walker Methodist, man. She looked out for us.
Good looking out, Patty. I don't know you, but I appreciate what you've done for us with that. And we trying to build this up. And we appreciate Dave and Iwok coming out to talk to us.
But hold up, I got something to say.
Forthright and honest. I work in a nursing home, and I was forthright with them. I told them everything, the truth, that I have a criminal background. I've been to prison before, but when they did a background check, it didn't come up. They couldn't find it. Lessons from God.
Wow,
yeah, but I told the truth, and I went forward with the podcast talking about what we talk about because I relate a lot of times, and with the knowledge and the risk that I'm going to lose my job. So I asked you, I said, what kind of position do you think Obama would have been in? Not that I think he would lose his job, but would the Republicans and the Democrats retaliate against him for pardoning that lady? Would it been like highly politicized? Would it been like...
So the time when most presidents use their power like that is in their last 100 days in office. So when, in his second term in the last 100 days,
nothing they could have did to him.
Nothing they could have done.
Right.
Bill Clinton pardoned, I think, 200 people his last day in office. Some of them were payoffs, but I mean, you don't even hardly hear a ripple about that.
Right. And they would have made a ripple about Obama because they made anything Obama did a thing. Right?
And that's why I asked that question.
But
it wouldn't have harmed him at all.
No, it would have harmed him personally.
Yeah, it would, But see, when you take a position like that, what is the use of having a job like that if you're not going to be effective?
Right.
Right. See, we're the only people that are embarrassed to help our own kind. That's the reason why, like Malcolm said, a dog is trained to protect its master.
House nigga, field nigga syndrome.
Exactly. So what's the point in being president if you're not going to do something impactful? You know what I'm saying? But his real agenda was pandering, to white people, basically. And what their needs were and what their agenda was. He never really did anything for black people. And I never really expected him to. I worked very hard on his campaign. Got cussed out, spit on, going door to door. But the reason why I was on his campaign was I wanted black youth to see that they could be something other than a ball player or a rapper. That you can, use him as a role model. But I expected a little bit more out of him than what I saw.
Right.
And I know black people don't like me saying that because we love him because, once again, he was black and he became president.
I seen one good thing come out of his presidency.
What was that?
Firsthand, like close to home. I have friend that I grew up with down in Florida. And he got life sentence for this much crack cocaine. He had a criminal history, cell charges and stuff like that. But 11, 12, or 13 years into his sentence, he got clemency from President Obama.
Because they passed a law that
He's on the podcast too. You guys can go back and look at it.
The crack laws were like what 100 to 1 or something, and then they reduced them to like
no, they were 1,000 to 1.
1,000 to 1,
and they reduced them to 100 to 1.
It's still crazy.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, but yeah, I'm glad he benefited from that. But it's also like, yeah.
But I seen a good friend of mine come home.
Yeah.
So
this is IGSTS. I'm SF, Moyer Prison Lawyer with my man.
Ron B in the middle.
We got some special guests today. Gonna sit down and we're gonna try to break this down. We're gonna talk about a lot of stuff, but I think I'm gonna try to stay in the midst of restorative justice because I think that when people hear it, they get afraid of it because they think that it's some whacked out experimental. They don't understand the etymology. They don't say the history of it. They don't understand what it can do to a community. But I also want to continue the conversation about President Obama real quick.
That was a freestyle too.
No. I just like the conversation where it was going because I heard a couple of different things and I'm not liking that angle from that main camera, but we should be all right. The reason I brought it up is because it's not President Obama we had a problem with. It's the presidency as what it's made up, what it was always made to do. It was never made to help us. So when you put him in as a president, nobody really thought. We was just glad, like O.J. Simpson, when we saw O.J. Simpson went free, we wasn't happy because O.J. Simpson, we finally thought the legal system had figured it out, it was right. We finally got something out of it. Same with Obama. Not so much happy Obama as a president, but we understood like, okay, finally we achieved something in the United States of America. The presidency, like Congress, like everything they made up, they never had us in mind. And when they did have us in mind, it was as slaves. Mm-hmm. So it has not been corrected for that. So when you put a president in power and you expect him to do right by us, he's elected, he's their individual. It's their system. His job is to be a CEO of the United States of America and do what's best for this country. And Black folks have always just been the workhorse of this country, always been victimized by this country. So he just followed suit and did exactly what he was supposed to do. And he's gonna go down in history. That's just how I feel.
But that's the sad thing, right?
That
he didn't. I mean, you would have hoped that there would have been resistance, like that he would have put out some things and people in the system would have fought him over some shit.
Yeah.
But instead, he didn't even try that shit. I mean, that's the thing. There was huge resistance. I mean, all sorts of people became openly, publicly racist because he became president.
Right.
And that's, just shows people's true colors.
Right.
But there wasn't resistance within the government or within, because he controls a giant apparatus as president, right? It wasn't like there was resistance within the military, or the State Department, the welfare office, no one was like, oh, you're changing the rules to make things better, we're going to stop you, you know what I mean? So it just, if he was doing something like that, you would have seen that.
Tell him who you are.
I'm David. I'm a high school social study teacher. I'm also part of the Incarcerated Workers Organizing Committee, which is an inside-outside organization. I actually met this man in that context, working to transform the prison system in Minnesota.
You said something interesting. You said he did what he was supposed to do. Could you break that down a little bit more?
Yes, sir. Yes. All right. I was just, what I mean, and introduce yourself.
My name's Philip.
Philip.
And I'm with IWOC.
IWOC, yes, sir. So we just want to get an understanding of who we got here today, gracing us, blessing us with their appearance. Reason I said he did what he was supposed to do is I'm a history buff. I looked at Abraham Lincoln I look at how he ascended to his presidency. And Obama sort of followed the same little, like he was nobody. Who knew, where did this guy come from? All of a sudden he's there. Same way Abraham Lincoln sort of popped up, and all of a sudden he was this, he got his mythology was, he was this individual who was supposed to not so much abolish slavery, but he was framed with that, and he came up on this new party called the Republicans, right? So I looked at Obama, and he had this strange history. Came out of Illinois, barely had a political career, and all of a sudden he's running for president.
Where Ronald Reagan is from.
What?
Ronald Reagan from Illinois too.
I'm just saying his Lincoln wasn't from
Lincoln was from Illinois.
Lincoln was from Illinois, but he actually was born somewhere else, but he came up through Illinois, that circuit, and then he went on to be president. Both
warriors, yeah.
2 terms, Obama 2 terms, and all of a sudden he's president. So to me, it just had this strange connection. And then I also looked at how America's supposed to be this progressive country, which they're not progressive at all, right? We have 2 parties, both of them the same. And then we haven't had a woman as president. We haven't had anybody other than white males as presidents. So always been an individual that they put up as a
token,
as a poster child token, as progression, for this country being progressive. He went through all the vetting,
Harvard Law School,
all the vetting. So he's no different than anybody else. He's just the right candidate with the right complexion to show progression. And we as black folks bought into this instead of vetting this guy. Because like you say, you might look at him and be like, well, you might like Trump, but Trump on paper might be better than Obama because he's more slotted. Or you might look at a Green Party candidate and be like, as black folks, we looked at the fact that he was the complexion, not understanding that he didn't come up from grassroots talking about he was gonna give us reparations and correct all the evils that was done to us.
Right.
So with that saying, that's what I mean, that he did exactly what they needed him to do.
He conformed to them.
He was exactly.
Maybe he was them from the beginning.
He always has been. He always had. So at the end of the day, us as black folks can't say, when they put black cops in our neighborhood, we can't say police officers are bad, right? Because a black cop did it to you, not a white cop. You can't say the system don't work right no more because it wasn't. We got a black president. What else do you want? What do you want us to do? The same way they do with criminal justice, right? We for the longest, black folks have never been part of criminal justice. We understood the system was white and it didn't work for us. For the longest, they drew us back into it to show us that to prove to us that the system does work. Because remember, we would have been out of the system and we would have never been back in the system because we knew the system. The Klan was there. Police officers were beating us up. The judges were corrupt. The system never worked. So they had to utilize something to bring us back into the system to show us that the system does work. And Obama was that individual, right? To keep these parties together, to keep people believing in the system, and he did what he was supposed to do.
And it was a giant financial crisis that almost destroyed the global economy that he fixed, right, coming into presidency.
Did he?
Yeah. For Wall Street, I mean.
Well, he did a lot for that.
Exactly.
Because I seen the book you was reading, David.
Yeah.
And I told you I was part of that. And what he did do is he criminalized. I'm gonna tell you the backstory of that, and it's not even the backstory I wanted to tell you. The backstory of that is that they went around and all these banks got bailouts.
Exactly.
All the banks got bailouts. All these banks, they bailed them out, billions and millions. But then they start going out and criminalizing individuals who took those loans and passed them along to subprime loans, and they were doing some egregious things, but they didn't do as much as these big banks, right? These banks stole millions and burnt up millions, but they criminalized individuals that they could criminalize. They went after them.
The smaller people. So at the end of the day, I mean, he did clean it up, but I mean, he wasn't
He was a big business. Yeah, but big, the big bank, big.
They saved the banks, but all the people left their houses.
Yeah, lost their houses, lost. Yeah, houses is great. It's a great point in America because a lot of times houses for most individuals is their nest egg, right? They're going to retire off these houses, and that did not happen because of this bubble. So that was that. Can you cast that video up to
which one?
Well,
you just no, I can't get to my email from the TV.
Oh no!
Do you want me to text it to you?
What I would have to do is go get the video out the email, send it up on the YouTube channel. Then you have to grab it.
Oh yeah, that's so no.
And you have to grab it. Yeah, we can get that in the next conversation because you would have to grab that video after I put it on the YouTube channel, and then do whatever you do to it, do your magic, and then I'll be able to put it up on YouTube.
Yeah, so what's the name of the video again? The name of that
Common Justice, 4 Principles.
What was
in the Hollow Water one?
The Hollow Water one. The Hollow Water was what I saw the other day.
Yeah, the Native community.
The Native community.
Yeah.
I saw that.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's amazing, definitely the way they took the circle and made it work for them. And I know, like I said, I wanted to talk a little bit about restorative justice, but I wanted to have our reaction to that, to that piece. And I know myself and David seen it. Have you seen that piece, that Hollow Water piece about restorative justice? And
no.
So
maybe we should all watch it and come back.
It's just, and like I said, it was I didn't.
A place where secrets and silence imprisoned young and old alike. Hollow Water is an Ojibway reserve, 200 kilometers north of Winnipeg. 450 people live here. 2/3 of them are the victims of sexual abuse. The offenders are grandparents, mothers, fathers, aunts, uncles, cousins. Few in the community have escaped the pain of this betrayal, and for decades they've kept it buried.
We couldn't just work with the victim, we also had to work with the offender because we felt that the offender was the core of the problem. And to deal with victims alone, as is done in society, and not dealing with the offender, you're only dealing with half the problem. So it really helped us see the total picture. And not only individuals, but we also had to work with the families of both.
Richard and Deborah Kennedy were accused of sexually abusing 2 of their 5 children. By law, they were the responsibility of the Manitoba justice system. But that approach hadn't stopped abuse in the past, nor had it rehabilitated anyone. If Hollow Water couldn't find a way to make the couple admit their guilt, they would be returned to the courts. It was a bold step and not without risk, but the Crown Attorney's office agreed. Richard and Deb were given a 2-year probation.
I fell into that the denial system. I told people that the charges weren't true. I even lied to myself, saying that they weren't true.
I understood why my children were taken with my charges, but it was very hard to believe my husband's charges.
I tried to find a way to come out of that and tell the truth. And the more I thought about it, the more lies I picked up.
All of us know the fear of talking coming into the door.
There were more than the Kennedys needing help. The community lacked counselors. Workshops and training programs were held, and the women of Hollow Water were the first to sign up.
We want to help them. We don't believe in jail because they don't get no help in jail.
The way we see jail system is, sure, they'll go to jail. Sure, people see it as punishment. But we don't see it that way. That's not punishment. Because they go in there and nothing happens in there and they just get angry and they come back to the community and do the same thing over again. So that cycle just continues. And what we're trying to do is to stop that cycle, to start helping these people that we believe in healing. I believe in healing. I believe they can heal.
What really changed my denial was they had this men's group in Colorado. They've already started, and they sat me in there. And I've sat with some offenders, and that's the day I felt I wasn't alone.
It was a pain passed on from generation to generation, a legacy of abuse Richard and Deb knew only too well.
We still have to. This is something like our family tree. Alcohol, all kinds of abuse is involved. And all these green lines that's the families that were sexually abused within the families. Richard Sr. was sexually abused, verbal abused, physically abused,
and
mentally abused, and
I think that was a suicidal what you put on there.
We started off like family tree and what kind of abuse we came from.
This is the hardest thing to do. And with our kids, it won't be that much, because this is where it's going to stop it. So it's not going to be that much colors there, not much of abuse going through there. And
it's going to stop this year with our children and with their children.
Richard and Deb's probation required them to attend individual counseling sessions, addiction treatment, and sharing circles. At the end of their 4th year of probation, their children were brought back and placed in foster homes within the community.
Cold water couldn't live with themselves and know that when we report cases that our children would be put through the legal system. That is, they have to testify against their offender in a court setting. They have to convince judges and defense lawyers and attorneys that what they're talking about is the truth. I can't do that. How can I expect my child to do that? And this is where we bring in our understanding of protecting children in our traditional way. These children are gifts from Creator. It's our job to protect them. So the adults that are harming these children, it's their responsibility to make sure that the children don't have to go through the formal court system.
On the other hand, with our concept of traditional healing based on spirituality,
Kathy Lewis, a vice chair of the Parole Board of Canada, worked closely with Aboriginal offenders. She was particularly interested in Hollow Water's alternative to incarceration.
Because your approach is so much cost-effective for the amount of money that gets spent on incarcerating offenders. And I'm not just talking here about Aboriginal offenders. I'm talking here of many offenders in the country. That money could be funneled to the kind of processes that you've developed.
It sure hasn't been an easy journey for these two girls. They really challenged us a lot. They insisted that they needed to work with their parents, and yet under child welfare, those kinds of things are just not done. I mean, especially in incest situations, once children are removed, it's almost a guarantee that they'll never get back together.
At times I feel the tears come down when we sit around, and it's painful to tell my kids that. And I know how they feel. about me now today. It's nice to get the trust, especially from my two daughters, Mona and Vanessa. I can feel that trust from them to me. And I can also feel that trust within myself going through this evening.
I've seen a lot of changes in them. My mom hardly yells. She just sits there and doesn't do anything. And then when we get into an argument, she doesn't butt in. She just sit there and listen. And my dad, we could trust him. Like, I trust my dad being alone with him. I couldn't trust him. Then after a while, I started trusting him. We sit down and we talk about what he done. And he keeps telling us over and over how sorry he is. And I come a long ways.
I dream of a time when our children's spirits are going to be really strong, much stronger than us. And they'll understand the laws of Creator. They'll understand the values. They'll live by the values of our people. And I think that's where our children are leading us to.
Richard and Deb had struggled to admit the truth and regain the trust of their children and their community. For others, that journey is just beginning. Today, more than 200 people are involved in Hollow Water's holistic circle healing approach, and the team has undertaken yet another challenge: healing the victims and offenders of family violence. They know their struggle is far from over, but at least the healing has begun.
All right, you guys want to take a break?
No, I want to say something.
No, I was going to say I
want to say.
Hold on.
Because I got to say it when it's on my mind, because I'll forget. But I'm going to tell you what I see right there, because I've been through the foster care system. I've been through the group home situations and stuff like that. And I heard that kid right now sticking up for his parents, saying that they changed, they see the change and stuff like that. But what I see, because I know the foster home and from my own personal experience, the foster home and the group home situation is broken as well. Mm-hmm. They treat you bad. I was in a foster home where this lady had 14 biological kids and 3 foster kids. Out of the 14 biological kids, 10 of them smoked crack. And they were in and out the house all night, every night, while their mom was sleeping as adults. They were adults. We were kids in this foster care system watching this thing go on. So what I see right there, when I look at that, is I see those kids would rather tolerate what went on with their parents than what they're going through with the foster care and the group home situation. That's just my opinion. That's not fact or anything like that, but from my own personal experience, that's what I see.
Yeah, I mean, the film just hit a piece of it, and the 40-minute one is like, that's really choppy, that little thing we just saw. Mm-hmm. So, they kind of, what the circles do is they allow them to customize what what needs to be done for each person, basically. They dealt with over 100 different people who committed sexual violence. And they supported over 400 people who were survivors of sexual violence as kids. And the thing they also didn't really mention there is the only reason this is in their community like that is because the Canadian government kidnapped them as children, and the church people who they put in control of them subjected them to tons of physical sexual abuse as children. And so that was kind of built into that community and they never talked about. And then it just kept going, right? You know what I mean? So the other thing I didn't really mention is that the community basically got permission to control the justice response around these crimes. So, yeah, it's kind of amazing too. It's like, you know, this is this is the problem, this is the situation, what should we do? We're going to all sit and decide what needs to be done. You know what I mean? We're going to set it up. And if you do these things to get yourself to a point, then you never go to prison. You know? Yeah.
You guys let me know. You want to take a break? You want to take a break?
Yeah.
You want to take a break? No, I just want to, because when we come back, we can really delve into this conversation. And I just want to, I don't want to start making a point and then we haven't taken a break.
I just wanted to say that.
I just wanted
it's
to.
On my mind. I'll forget.
No, the foster care shit is so real. You know, and I mean, yeah, systems on systems.
I had bad experience in the foster care system and in the group. I was in the group home first. When my mom first got arrested, they sent us to group homes, separate group homes. And then we went into the foster care system. I had bad experience with both of those systems. You know what I'm saying? So I know when that kid, to me, this is not fact, but to me, what I seen when that kid was defending his parent and saying that his parent is better now, is listening now, I think that in their mind, they think that being with their parents is a more tolerable situation than the situation that they was in.
Yeah, I mean, we'd have to go ask them, but yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, but...
Because that's what I see from my perspective, from what I experienced.
Yeah. No, and I know a lot of kids in the foster care system. I don't hear good things about it. You know what I mean? Like, no one's like, oh, yes, this was... You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
All right, this is IGSTS. I'm SF Mo, the prison lawyer, with my man
Ron, be in the middle.
And now we're talking about, what's it called? First Nation, but it was, what's the name of the nation? Hollow Water. I thought Hollow Water was interesting. Not because anything, not because of what the people were going through, not because of the sexual abuse, nothing like that. The reason I thought Hollow Water was instrumental, and I can't, like you guys, I can't delve into personally what's going on in their home life. I can only talk about what they decided to do and why they decided to do it. And why haven't we decided to do something like that in our communities, knowing the criminal justice system does not work. Knowing that so it goes right back to President Obama. Why is he president of the United States of America? Because it's business as usual. We know the presidency don't work. We know it never did anything for us. We know it's not set up to do anything for us. But yet still we keep hoping that the system's going to work. Same with the criminal justice system. Listen, okay, we didn't work with 2.2 million. Let's lock up 2.2 billion. White folks can walk around here and be safe at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? We can build these communities and we can take these dilapidated urban communities and turn them into these high rent areas. And we're safe, right? We can walk our dogs, go to our coffee shops because they all locked up. I'm just asking, the question that I posed after I watched this, after David sent it to me, is like, can restorative justice work? And I want to say post. It's not even post. I want to say in this modern day slavery institution, which they call corrections. Why can you instrument it in there? My conversation is no, you can't instrument it. You got to go away from this whole mindset of corrections.
And that's what's so crazy about this stuff, right? Is that it's pre-prison, right? The way they talk about restorative justice a lot in Minnesota is post-prison.
Or in conjunction during your prison stint.
Exactly. You can raise money for something, or whatever. You know what I mean?
You can deal with restorative justice once you committed the offense. Right. You know. So
but what this is before you go to prison, instead of prison, you do something that actually creates accountability, that actually heals community, that actually breaks cycles of violence.
Right.
And we, if you can do that around childhood sexual abuse,
which is they poster child for the reason behind all these severe, all this extra conditional releasing and these reasons why they have no release at all. Civil commits is what David's pointing out right now.
Right. So if you can do that around that, and in New York City they're doing that around gun violence, they're doing that around felony violence up to through attempted murder. And again, they're doing a diversion program. It's called Common Justice. If you get through it's a 2-year program. The only way you get into it is if the person you physically hurt chooses that you're going to go into this program instead of prison.
Tell us about that. Yeah. Bring that. David hit me with some shit, and I think I know everything. I'm like ICF Motor Prison Lawyer. I know everything. He hit me with some shit when I was sitting down there talking to him that I didn't even know about, that wowed the fuck out of me. Just tell them about how.
Yeah, so this is how it works. That it's mostly folks 25 and under. It's physical violence, felony level violence. It's not sexual violence in that case, but it's gun violence or it's assault or it's whatever. And the only way you get into the program is if, say, I shoot you. The only way I get into that program is if you, who I shot, says, "Hey, I want this person in the program instead of prison."
What state can you do that in, though?
This is in New York. This is in New York City.
Is that possible in Minnesota?
Oh, yeah. This is the other crazy thing. In Minnesota, under Minnesota law, any crime in the law books in the law books can be diverted to a community restorative process.
Any crime
in the law books. All it has to be is in the interest of rehabilitation, and the victim has to be consulted.
Why we don't know about this?
It doesn't say that the victim has to agree.
Why we don't? Man, we gonna slow it down.
I mean, I heard him say something about victim impact and stuff like that.
He said,
but those are just letters that you write.
He said that any crime in the state of Minnesota, instead of you going to prison, they can put you in a diversionary program if the person agrees.
No, they don't even have to agree.
They don't have to agree?
Be consulted. So for example, here's the one that's been done already, and this is it's an unusual case, but I mean, we in St. Paul, right? The Columbus statue by the Capitol. Some Native folks were like, "Fuck this," and they pulled it down.
Very respectively so.
Right? And the head person who was like, "Whatever, yes, we pulled it down," he got arrested. He got charged with felony level property destruction.
Right.
The head prosecutor in Ramsey County, John Choi, got convinced to use this law that's on the books to send that to a community restorative process.
Right.
In that community restorative process, the state acknowledged Native genocide publicly. The state acknowledged, they acknowledged what led up to why people would want to do something like this.
Yeah.
And he ended up getting sentenced to 1 year of community service. He could have done, 10, 15 years in prison for this, right?
Definitely. And then had to pay back.
But they don't put this out there that those kind of programs, those kind of things are available.
What do you call them? Diversionary
programs. Diversionary programs are available.
They don't, right? And the main reason, too, is because there's no money in it.
Right, of course. No money in it because you don't have probations, you don't have judge, you don't have policies.
Also, it's on top of what we currently do, right? Restorative diversion is not like the normal thing, right?
No, it's
and
not.
we need to make it the normal
Right,
thing.
it's not the
norm. But one of the reasons why it's not the norm is because guess how much a county has to spend to send someone to prison?
Tell us.
Come on.
Yes.
How much the county has to spend?
What did they spend to send you to prison?
You sit down in front of a judge in Ramsey County or Hennepin County or Otter County. How much does the county have to spend to send you to prison?
$5,000.
Good thought. $0.00.
So that's why they want to send you there because it don't cost them nothing. Right. Send that motherfucker to prison.
Right. You want to send me to a mental health
program? So how much does it cost them to send you to the diversionary program?
Well, that's what it depends on the program, right?
It's going to cost them something.
It's going to cost them something, right? But also the thing with a lot of these restorative justice programs is what you do is you get the community together. You get the people, you get the families, you get people who are impacted. You know what I mean?
Right.
So they don't get paid usually, right? So you might have to have a paid facilitator. You might have wraparound services. So if someone has a whatever, you get the problems addressed, right? Because you don't want to just go back into the same problems, right?
Right.
So that costs some money. But yeah, they did a study of hollow water. And over a 10-year period, they worked with 100 and some people who committed sexual violence. They worked with 400 survivors of sexual violence. 104 of those people went through the process. 2 people reoffended. The Canadian government did the data on this. They said, wow, this is way more effective.
The program was successful.
It was way less expensive than prison. And not only that, it provided so many things, so much more healing and support and transformation and community building and learning native practices and you know what I mean? So all these things that you would never get in prison. So they concluded that wow, this is a knockout the park. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's, common justice in New York City. If you
but they're not trying to use that.
No. And we're not trying to use it because we don't know about it.
Shout out to John Troy. John Troy, we'd like to get you on the show, like to talk to you and chop it up with you because Bo Raurock got on and said the same thing. But they were using it for juveniles and anything real low. And that episode's coming out. It's episode 21 where Bo Raurock talks about.
I can understand why they targeting the kids though. And
but no.
Because they're the future.
No. We had the conversation too. The thing about it is that there's no mitigating or minimizing or slowly putting this in. It works for everybody, not just kids. And then you can utilize the kids like it's like, no, it works. It doesn't matter. We have the right. Nobody knows about, well, not even a right, but just the option of a diversionary program that can heal the community. Both sides really do some work within the community, really get people back into the community, but we're not utilizing it. And I say at the end of the day, that restorative justice will never work in this capitalist system. And that's just it. Because people don't want to see, as much as they talk about change and talk about criminal justice and they're tired of it, the dollar makes sense at the end of the day. And they love locking people up because it facilitates so many jobs.
The question is just whose dollar, right? Because right now,
taxpayers.
Right. Either way, it's our money, right? So it's our money is going to pay for big cages in rural Minnesota.
Yeah, warehouses. Yeah.
Right? To pay people in rural Minnesota whose towns have been taken away from a future to live there and maintain this racist system, right?
Right.
You know what I mean? But that's still our money.
I think the point is made. I think the reason why it's allowable because most people don't know about it as an option. It's not being presented as an option when the prosecutor comes out.
Right.
He's like, you want justice? I'm going to give him 15 million years.
The only thing they're going to present is a plea bargain.
Yes.
For you to go to prison.
Yeah, for you to go to
defeat
prison.
These people.
Or take some probation. Or something like that.
Well, to stay in that's why I wanted to go back. That's why I wanted to go back to the institution and back to the you being in foster care and things like that. That's an institution that they run, right? And so when you said the kids, I don't fault the kids for wanting to go back home and not wanting to be with these foster people, but then my other thing too,
because it's a bad situation
I don't fault them
in a lot of cases.
I don't fault them for wanting to be there. I just say that that's great. They want to be back with their parents, and maybe their parents are trying to make it work, but at least they're still a cohesive family. You know what I'm saying? And we can try to make that dynamic work.
And like I said, I'm not saying that those are facts. Those are just facts.
No. I'm going
for them. That's not facts for them. That's facts based on my situation.
And I'm saying I'm running with your facts. I'm running with your facts.
Yeah.
And I mean, the one thing too that often that the other little video I showed you, we can not play it or whatever. But is one of the things she talks about is there's a difference between punishment and accountability. So if you punish me, or I have to sit in my room, or I have to whatever. Like if you're punished, all you have to do is survive punishment. You don't have to change, right?
No.
And the difference between punishment and accountability is if you're accountable in the way she's talking about, and we can play with words all day. But what she's talking about is that what restorative justice, if it's done correctly, requires you to do is to become a different type of person.
Right. Right.
And so if we really want to be breaking these cycles, that's what we got to be expecting, right? Is that people become a different type of person. That doesn't mean you're gonna like have a new name or like a new whatever. You know what I mean?
No.
But you have to turn your corner on things.
And I think the shout out to the Nexus community. I was with them this week, and the reason I say that is because when you speak on change. Think about it like this. The GOC is going to first say, the government's going to first say, what are you talking about? We have all those opportunities for people once they get in prison to change. But hold on a minute. We have this discussion. This is the reason we set up the platform. Most of the time, felons are running those programmings, and a lot of the programming that they're running is just fake it to make it. You have no allegiance to those individuals. You're just trying to get out your cell to get a mark. You have no commitment with that. You're forcing them to come back to the elders, people in their communities, people they grew up with, people that they respect. And now that person knows if Ron B in the middle is lying, or if Ron B in the middle needs more treatment, or if Ron B in the middle, you know what I'm saying? They know more about you, and you can't fake the funk with them.
As far as that goes, I'm going to tell you what I seen in that situation. Well, me in prison, if it ain't drug and alcohol treatment, most programs are inmate ran.
Right.
So these institutions, these caseworkers, these executive staff of these prisons are getting the credibility of running victim impact, inside outside dads, think of some other programs. They're getting the credit of running these programs, but they're not running the program in a way that would benefit the taxpayer for spending his taxpaying dollars into it.
Right. But
they're running it through the inmates, and the inmates like, man, when I was in there, when we go to a program, we fake it till we make it.
But the thing about it is, even as being a prisoner locked in that cell, I'm not going to that program with any genuine commitment.
Yeah, to the program. It's no care and concern involved in the way that the program is instituted.
Right.
Outside of drug and alcohol treatment. Drug and alcohol treatment is ran by staff members that went to school and stuff like that. I was in a drug program that was instituted by ex-stripper, ex-prostitute, ex-drug addict and stuff like that. And you can learn a lot from people that actually experience that stuff.
Right, but even with just learning from, I'm saying like, I can sit there and listen to your stories, and your stories might be entertainment, but do I want to change? Or do I want to get out myself?
Right. It's all on the individual who wants, if he wants to change.
But I'm saying with the community segment of it, and being in the community, like if I looked up to you, and you was running the program, and I hear you telling your stories, I really respect you. So when you tell me like, listen, man, I've been through the same situation. I'm in the community. I already been to the joint. I'm already done what you did. You know, it didn't pan out for me, and here's a better way for you to work this situation out. I'm more subject to listen to you and follow your ways, and because I wanted to be like you when you was in the streets.
Right.
Now I see how it played out. Like I'm going more, you know, and that's what I'm saying with this. Right. That's why I say I did restorative justice in a circle with Russell in a joint, and it was instrumental.
That's why I took that job at the halfway house, and that's why I'm thinking about going there full time instead of and quit my other full time job, because I know that them guys in that halfway house can relate to me better than they can relate to somebody that didn't go through what we went through.
Right.
And they're gonna listen to me, they're gonna watch me, they see how I'm moving, and they're gonna be more moved towards reform and getting themselves together because they see a prime example of it.
Let me ask you a question. Now you're in the halfway house. Don't you feel? I'm gonna ask you a question. Do you feel more responsibility now to stay on the straight and narrow because you have people looking at you?
Yeah.
Opposed to you know what I'm saying?
It's another part of my motivation. To keep doing good.
Yeah.
To keep doing right.
And so
keep my life on track.
Yeah. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. And I mean, we can talk about. I like the restorative justice aspects of things because, like I said, a lot of people don't know about it. I like to just hear about what I like David to tell us when we come back about the Father's Day March in Stillwater. That's great. And then also talk about, work release.
And shout out to the convicted felons doing better than the people with no felonies.
We'll be right back.
I say that all the time.
Hell yeah.
I say that all the time.
Yeah, I was just saying that I'm
gonna step outside and smoke a cigarette real quick.
Look at you with your
Do
man.
you want y'all smoke?
I'm good.
All right.
Yeah, let me splash some cold water on my face.
That's fine. You need a towel? I'll get you a towel.
Okay.
Yeah, you tired, man.
If you want to step out, you can sit on. You don't have to sit on camera.
It just came down on me. I was kind of up all night.
Yeah, that's what I understand. Him too. So I get it. But I watched that video, and everything I said, I started thinking about even the economics in it. Just dealing with restorative justice and getting out, and somebody's telling me about restorative justice, and I'm like, I got to get back to the streets.
Yeah.
I don't want to deal with these programs. I don't want people talking to me. I just want to get back doing what I'm doing, and I just think like along with it is that what we talked about is about the whole work release, the whole trade. If you're talking about keeping a person locked down for 1/3 of their time, then if the ultimate goal is to get them back working, a lot of people come in without having a trade. Let them go to do something. Give them some opportunities with trades.
Yeah. So to college,
anything. So when that time comes up, if he can show you that he acquired a trade or he's got a trade that's usable, why not bring him back into community just like that? Because what they do with a lot of those work programs, like upholstery, is in Stillwater.
Yeah.
And did you know there's no upholstery places in the state of Minnesota other than Stillwater? Upholstery places. It's a trade that's gone away with, and because of the low cost and labor, they can send all their work to Stillwater to get done.
Yeah.
And they removed any other individuals who do upholstery. It's done in Stillwater. And that's what they've been able to do.
Right. It's funny because that's what the law is supposed to prevent. It's supposed to prevent people in prison from competing with people who are not.
Supposedly, but you got to understand.
No, I know. I'm just.
It's supposedly that's supposed to be the gist of things, and it's supposed to never happen, right? It's because it's not fair. They can never compete with prisoners, right?
No, exactly.
But they there's so many different things that they do underhanded.
Absolutely.
To continue the system working.
Yeah.
As usual.
Yeah. No, and I mean, I think, and the craziest thing about that work release thing is that it's already on the books. You know what I mean?
That goes right back to restorative justice. I mean,
it's on the books too.
It's on the books, but then you got to ask yourself a question. I want to go right back to that. Why isn't it not an option?
Yeah.
Because they paint these individuals as the worst of the worst.
That's part of
never let them get out.
Exactly.
If you let them get out, they're going to do it again.
No, exactly. It's pitched as like it's a tough on crime to
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And if you start talking about, we're gonna just slap them on the wrist, and that's what it goes back to the victims. And we're talking about, they go get the most egregious crimes of the victims who I want him underneath the prison.
Right, exactly.
That's their spokesperson.
Exactly. That's the ones that they show. Yeah.
And then how could you bring up something like restorative justice if this individual? What about what about their?
It's also the crazy thing though. The statewide domestic violence group, victim survivor statewide domestic violence group, they got $2 million to create alternatives to prison for domestic violence. Because they trying to do it. And domestic violence is serious. Lots of people get killed from domestic violence.
The thing about it is that why are you creating programs when a program actually exists?
Right.
What do you need money for? Just use the programs on the books.
Well, that's the thing is that they're on the books, but they're not funded. And so that's what they're doing is what they're trying to do in that program is they're trying to show that it works so they can be like, look, do this, don't do that. You know what I mean? So, all I'm saying is that it's cool to see that you have victim survivor groups leading the charge towards not using prison.
Right.
That's not something you'd expect.
No.
You know what I mean? That's good.
Not in this culture.
Exactly.
Do you expect it? Because victims and the offenders, and I don't like using that word, but they're being pitted against each other.
Right.
They oil and water. You know, they're never going to be.
But really, they're the same people.
Well, they always are, because so you can't say the offender is not a victim. He's being victimized by the system more than the victim is being victimized by the system.
So how many people go to prison who haven't gone through trauma first?
Hey, well, that's that we're gonna play that all day long. Like,
I mean,
you know, but because that's why I go back to that First Nation talking about they were victimized first. That's how they learned to victimize.
Yeah.
It's by the colonization and imperial power coming in.
They literally kidnapped
and doing it to them.
Exactly.
So now
they repeated the behavior.
So they're gonna repeat, because that's what you're gonna do. I mean, if I'm an abuser and I abuse my wife, more than likely my son's gonna pick that up and follow the same traits.
Yeah. Unless you break the cycle.
Unless you break the cycle.
Exactly. Yeah.
But they don't want to talk like that. I mean, that's not the conversation we want to have. Right? We want to talk about who victimized who. We just want to pass blame, be judges.
And we want to simplify the situation, right? Because if you're just talking about this one bad action, then this is the bad person, and that's all you need to know is that this is a bad person. Get rid of them, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
But if you have to look at the context, then you have to be like, well, shit, right? You know?
I want to hear something from you too.
Yeah, exactly.
You've been mighty quiet.
Yeah.
I know you got something to say.
You can talk about what releases you want.
No, I could talk about this track. You know, I just have a different
let's hear it.
view of see, the thing is that
welcome back. This is I Got Something to Say. I'm SAF Mode with my man
Ron B in the middle.
And we got these two gentlemen joining us today. Our conversation's been about restorative justice, but we're about to broaden up the conversation a little bit. Go ahead and take the floor.
Yeah, I'm Philip. So I'm listening to you guys talk. So the thing is that we always get caught in the Jeremiads, you know. We keep talking about the problem, and we keep talking about why things aren't executed. And that's really our responsibility, because we have everything we need. We have the intelligence, a lot of intelligence flowing here.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to figure out a way to promote it. So right now, we're following the dictates of some slave owners. A lot of those guys weren't even educated. Jefferson and Franklin, those guys kind of had a little something upstairs. So they were able to make people do what those words set out for them to do. We throw out terms like holding people accountable. Mm-hmm. But that's just a word right now, because we don't hold people accountable. Mm-hmm. Until we come to that point, nothing's ever going to change. Because what happens is that we stay stuck in a stance, in a circle, to where we're just caught in that circle. I'll give you an example. So this guy that just got arrested for killing all those black folks.
Yeah.
So we're making statements like, well, he's been treated so good, you know, and this and that. And that's where the conversation stops. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. We already know that he's going to get treated better. Where the difference comes in at is, like we used to say back in the day, we have to heighten the contradiction. And so what that does is it makes people really accountable, because your word is the standard bearer. Your words mean a lot, and words are very powerful. Mm. And so what we're not doing is, you remember that famous story when A. Philip Randolph, he came into Eisenhower's office, and he's running off at the mouth about all this stuff, and Eisenhower lights a cigarette, and he says, your problem is you're going to have to figure out how to make me do what you're asking me to do. Mm-hmm. So that's what it boils down to. Mm-hmm. And so the thing is that, like the brother was saying, a lot of these things are hidden and obscure. But a lot of times we don't take the narrative and we don't take control of the narratives. Just in our conversations, we're giving other people too much power. Because we're saying, well, how come we don't do this? How come we haven't, how come these things haven't been implemented? Mm-hmm. What we got to understand is this society, all it does is half measures. So they want to have the pretense of saying, well, we put a program out there for you. You should be able to succeed. But there are hidden barriers within those programs that really are against you that don't let you succeed.
Right.
You know, the main thing is like, say when a guy goes to prison, he comes out, he's on parole. There's nothing really, unless you got a A1 parole officer, he's kind of most of the time dead set on sending you back to prison.
Right. Yeah.
So the thing is that what people don't understand is that it's easy to blame somebody when they keep going back to prison.
Yeah.
And we're not looking deeper into it
Right.
and understanding the reasons why.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Speaking of A1 parole officer, shout out to Malcolm Osteen out there in Tallahassee, Florida. He was a stand-up, solid parole officer for me, man. He gave me a chance. I messed up and got myself sent back. But he gave me a chance. He gave me another chance. He gave me another chance, and then I blew it again. You know what I'm saying? It's some good guys out there.
Well, just back to accountability. You know, the words are very powerful. Again, shout out to the Nexus community. I appreciate you guys for having me there. You talked about the dandelion. And you know, something benign as a dandelion, these ladies broke it down. And it was so much understanding being brought forth by them about the dandelion. How, when you think about it, what's the first thing you think about when you see a dandelion?
It's bad.
Okay. What do you think, Philip?
When I see a dandelion?
Yeah, when you see a dandelion, what's the first thing you think about?
I just think about the color yellow.
What do you think?
I think it's a weed, is what I've been told.
Yeah, killing the grass.
So we got into I was in a group with the ladies, and so I get in there and I see these dandelions. I'm like, what the heck is going on? They be like, lost their damn minds. Like, I'm out of here. Just zoom in. So the first thing they asked me is like, what do you think about a dandelion? And I was like, first of all, if you're asking me now, you know, my Eurocentric behavior makes me think of it as a weed, but I was raised by my great grandmother to know that it was a food. They used to eat dandelions, dandelion soup. You know, but so when as soon as I said it, I was like, dang, they connected me to something that I forgot about a long time ago. Because since I've been up here, I've always thought about dandelions as weed. I gotta get some Roundup and kill all these damn dandelions in my yard. But you don't understand that dandelions has all types of holistic treatments to it. It's actually a medicine.
I didn't know that.
It's very nutritious.
It's very nutritious. Dandelions are actually. I'm gonna break it down to y'all. These ladies, man, they hooked me up. I appreciate y'all. MK, what's up? Susie, what's up? They said that dandelions first came from Asia and it was actually brought over here. Because what dandelions do is they actually heal the earth. They go all the way, their roots go down about 15 feet. And what they do is they take all the acidity out of it. And
Out of the soil?
They actually, only time dandelions appear is when the earth is in trouble. And they need, come on, they just hit me. And I'm just sitting up listening right now because it was just beautiful what they were bringing to the conversation with the dandelion. But now it's making its return. You see a lot of dandelion tea now, and people are talking about it because it helps the liver. It helps with swelling of the joints. It helps with just.
So now people are learning.
No, we're learning. It was so. Let me just make this circle real quick. So. My great grandmother told me that. My great grandmother, you gotta understand how old I am, and when I say my great grandmother, you know, she grew up in slavery, 1800s, late 1800s. That's my great grandma.
Right.
She knew about it. She gave it to me. Oh, got whitewashed. I don't
forgot about it.
Forget about it. Now it's coming back. But that's what the dandelion is. Remember, they come over here and colonize this country and with imperial forces and stripped all that from us. Now they're trying to reintroduce it to us. We already knew it.
Same thing with restorative justice.
Restorative justice, right back. Like, we always had, you talking about solutions. We already had the solution. We've been bought into President Obama. They gave us President Obama like he's our solution. He's never been our solution. But we bought into popular understanding that somehow a black president is going to change our downtrodden existence in America. This shit is stop it, man. Stop it. He's not going to do anything but continue. If they thought he was going to change change what was going on, he would have never been president. If he had a black bone in his body, he would have never been president. If he thought about, you know what, I'm gonna get up there, I'm gonna look up all these laws that's disenfranchised black folks for the longest and try to change something with this criminal justice system and even out this inequality, they would have assassinated that man. He the first day in office, he had nothing to worry about because he was one of them. They already vetted him. Right. That's the same with everything they do, every institution, every person they put up, every black person you see on TV, they've been vetted. They just don't appear out of nowhere. They've been vetted. That's one of them that's acting like one of us, but that's the game we play. So it's not always all about black and white, because we just had a conversation about me using a term that you was like, well, why you use the word white motherfuckers, black motherfuckers? What the color don't mean nothing. It's in the works of the individual.
No. It ain't that I mind you using a word, but I would like you to clarify that you're talking about who you're talking about, because you're not talking about David when you say white MFers. No. You're not talking about Johnny over there. You're not talking about Alan over there. No. You're talking about the police officer, the judge, the lawyers. You have to clarify that, because somebody from the outside looking in don't understand where you're coming from, and they don't want to watch no more. And we don't want to run part of our audience away. We want to bring all genres of people in, everybody, all cultures in. And by you saying that and not clarifying that, or they not knowing where you're coming from, you running some people away.
Ron be in the middle.
And that's not, and we're not in the business of running people away.
Ron be in the middle. I feel like everybody know where SAF Mo is coming from.
We ain't in the business of running people away. You understand what I'm saying,
Dave? I'm the people.
I hear you both.
I'm the people.
What I'm saying, Philip?
I'm the people.
I do.
I'm the people.
And Philip said something that was interesting too, and I want to while I'm thinking about it. He said that guy that did that mass shooting, we know he's going to get treated better. I want to clarify that and say we know he got treated better. The reason why I say that is because you got George Floyd, Castillo, Breonna Taylor, Trayvon Martin,
Eric Garner.
We
naming
the list
people
goes
all day long.
Rodney King. Yeah. You got all these guys, all these African American individuals that are dead, and they didn't have a firearm. This guy goes in and kills a bunch of people and comes out in handcuffs. Mm-hmm. And what race is he?
Of course.
Let's play a game. What race is he?
We already know what race he is. We understand that's...
So we already know that he got treated better.
Right. He's not dead. They didn't blow it in. They ain't put a bullet in his head to send that robot in with an explosive to blow him up. Mm-hmm. Like they, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? We already know the numbers look different when you have better chance being armed than being unarmed. Mm-hmm. If you're black in America. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Just being by the numbers, if you just look at statistics, forget color, people who are armed come out in handcuffs, people who are unarmed, African American males, getting pulled over by police, minor infractions. Has nothing to do with nothing. Nothing to do with nothing. They're pulling you over because your tail light is out.
Get murdered.
You have a good chance of being murdered.
It's the same race war.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So with that being said, when it comes to accountability, the problem with restorative justice is because it does hold people accountable. It does what it's supposed to do. With this, it's easy to say. It's easy to use binary logic and say all police officers are good. All people being accused of a crime is bad. I understand that. So if a police officer never lies, he's gonna always lie. It's just easy to play this game all the way down the track for everybody to join in. It's easy because at the end of the day, grandma could go to bed believing that because she elected this individual, all the bad guys now are locked up and she ain't got nothing to worry about. Be comfortable with that. Restorative justice holds everybody to accountability to a point where the victim and the person who did it needs to come together, and they're now. Justin Terrell
having a conversation and create some healing.
Justin Terrell. I was going to say this last. Justin Terrell said it the best. When you do a census of most individuals, all they want at the end of the day is to make sure that individual doesn't come out and do the same thing. That's all they want.
Mm-hmm. And at the sentencing hearing, when you see the family stand up there the most asked question by a victim's family is why?
Yes.
Why? Why did you do this to my son? Why did you do this to my daughter? Why? So that's where victim impact comes in. That's where these programs come in, where people are able to have that conversation and get that healing in their life.
Go ahead. You say something, Dave?
No, also just to go back to words, I mean, this is also why us defining what restorative justice means is important, because they can make restorative justice into the same damn thing they are.
Right. That's it. Yeah.
And you know, some people are starting to talk about transformative justice, which meant the same thing, but they're just using a new word because they stole that old word. So we're trying to, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so, yeah, I mean, words matter, and fighting over what they mean matters.
Well, the one thing I always go back to, and I learned this in a joint, is Humpty Dumpty. Alice in Wonderland. Remember when he falls off the wall?
Mm-hmm.
What does he tell Alice? It's not the word. It's who controls the meaning of the word.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. That's what he told her.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that always resonates with me. It's who controls that meaning of the word. Why do we use black and white? Why are we so accepting of the word black? Understanding that in order for it to be white, it must be black. And it's actually a counter. So if white means good, black has to mean bad. So why are you calling yourself black? Why are you not calling yourself human?
It's only one race of people, the human race.
But I'm just saying. I'm just telling you right now is that it's just this understanding of what words mean. And like I say, accountability is one of them. Criminal justice is another one. Criminal injustice is another one. And that's why I thought the platform, myself, Ron B in the middle, thought it was necessary for us to be able to control this and create a counter narrative. Mm-hmm. And this is where you guys come in. When I was in the joint, they were reaching out to me. Mm-hmm. They were writing me letters. Mm-hmm. They were sending me stuff. You know what I'm saying? And it made me feel good. It made me feel like I was worth something. Mm-hmm. It made me feel like I could contribute. Nobody else.
Where was y'all at when I was in there?
I'm just telling you.
And we gotta get bigger, because you know what I mean? That's the thing.
I'm just telling you. I wasn't on no contest. I'm not doing no bandwagon hype. I'm talking about personal experience. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like groups like this. So I look at IGSTS as being like IWOC.
Like sisters, yeah.
Just because they don't want this to be heard. They don't want. Tell them about some of the things you guys done did. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to tell us about some of the things you've done.
Well, I mean, I guess the two things I'm proudest about is shrinking the prison system for 10% in the last 3 years. In Minnesota.
I heard you talk about that the other day.
Yeah. So
explain to those individuals who are.
And so, the way you change the system is you got to fight it, right? Mm-hmm. And to fight a system, you got to get enough people powers together to be able to move it. Mm-hmm. And so you got to line up a campaign. And so the first campaign we started, which is how Philip got involved, and he contributed a lot to that campaign, was around technical violations, what you mentioned before. People get sent back to prison, all these petty non-crimes.
Mm-hmm. What is a technical? What can a technical violation? I know, but
late to curfew, testing positive for alcohol or marijuana, not having a job fast enough, not having housing.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And it sends you right back to the joint.
Yeah. Failure to call someone. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
You lose your residence.
Yeah.
You lose your residence because of something happens.
Right. Having contact with the police. I mean, there's all sorts of things that are not crimes that if you're on paper, you can be sent to prison for.
And what continue this, but I went to some of this. I told you I went to some of the sentencing guidelines commissions, and as minimum as so when you talk about it, we understand exactly what they are. When they come up to those individuals who are administrative, they look at those things as being, we gave him an opportunity and he failed. Right. What?
To give you a quick example, David and me went to meet this brother. I think it's been about 4 years ago. Lamar Coleman is his name.
I heard that.
Okay, yeah. So since I
know Lamar Coleman. I know him.
Yeah, he's been in the system for years. That's him.
LC. I know
That's
LC.
him.
Yeah.
Okay, so he goes up for his hearing Monday. So he went back to prison, and the night before he went back, I was telling him, I said, you're out beyond the time, because it seemed like he would get a job and he was busted within 90 days. Mm-hmm. The short time I've known him, I think he's gone back to prison 7 times.
And I was out there one of the times he was out. I was actually in a joint with him, LC. So I know exactly what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. Go ahead, brother.
So he gets into it with this female. It was a texting thing. He said it wasn't terroristic threats or nothing like that. And he had a cell phone. Mm-hmm. Okay, keep in mind, he wasn't supposed to have a cell phone. This is November 2020. Mm-hmm. So if he does not make this hearing, he's going to be locked up for another 1.5 years. And so right now we have to attack the heart of this thing. Right now, the Department of Corrections has a blank check to keep people locked up. And so where real accountability comes in is presenting to the public the need to keep a man locked up and spending all this money when he could do treatment on the outside, contribute to his family, and become a tax paying member of society. Mm-hmm. So the thing is that he has developed a lot. Now, he really had an anger problem. But he signed up for treatment, for drug treatment, just to get out. He's never tested positive. Mm-hmm. But now they're insisting that he takes a drug treatment class. And he's going through this SO treatment right now. Mm-hmm. And so it was stalled. He said it was stalled because of COVID, and then they got some other stuff that's going on. Mm-hmm. And so we pray that he gets out, sometime soon.
So he's back in again?
He's back in. He's been in since November 2020.
Okay.
And me and him were just talking about it the night before because he routinely gets locked up. Mm-hmm. And this particular rogue agent that he had is a nasty individual.
And they know who this rogue agent is, have no problem with him being on the cases, continue to give him cases, even though they know his behavior.
It took us so hard to get this guy off his case.
Yeah.
And accountability for agents is...
There's nothing. There's none. What accountability?
And the reason is that they can always manufacture a new thing. So, and a lot of people go to technical violations on something where the only reason they lose and they go back to prison is not because of what the agent said they did. It's because they've now gone to jail, so they've lost their housing. Mm-hmm. And then they send them to jail for losing their housing because they can't send them to jail for the bullshit.
I think that's straight. I'm gonna go straight with you. I'm gonna go on the record and say that's bullshit. Yeah. I'm gonna go on the record and say that's bullshit because they understand. Like I'm gonna say it's bullshit. I'm gonna call them and they bullshit. I'm gonna call them on the fact that they already understand. No person can go to jail for any amount of time, lose employment. Well, not show up at work without a reason. Then you want to call up your people and tell them, I don't care if this is your first, that you're in jail, because they're gonna be like, what did he do? On top of that, you need to go to work because most people are leaving paycheck to paycheck. Mm-hmm. A lot of times the housing that you're in is not housing that you could readily get. You know how hard it is to get housing? So you're gonna lose your house. They already know when they lock you up, you're gonna lose your housing and you're not gonna be going back. So policy is put in place that if you don't have housing, you're gonna get sent back. So they already know sitting at that hearing, 9 times out of 10, they're sending you back because you don't have housing. But to me, instead of them waiting 2.5 weeks to see you for a hearing, doing all those things that's gonna cause you to lose your housing, they're not implementing. So they're gonna, to me, it's a default. They're sending you back.
Ron B in the middle got something to say.
Say it.
Do you think that I need to be sent back to prison for my third dirty UA?
Well, it depends on how you look at it.
Gave me a chance once, gave me a chance twice. Now here I come with a third dirty UA.
See, obviously you had an addiction problem.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So prison's not going to solve it.
Right.
Okay.
That's how you got to look at it.
Right. Okay. Right off
they
the bat.
sold you on the fact that you got some chances.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Now you tried
treatment.
You tried treatment with me before. Now here I go again with 3 more dirty UAs.
Okay. Addiction is almost like, let's say a person has cancer or diabetes, and he relapses. Are you going to lock him up? See, we have to understand what it is. Addiction is a disease. And so when we put things in its context, we can understand things better. Okay. You have folks that are just downright crazy. I used to look at folks, I said, how did he get here? He don't even know his own name. So these things double as mental institutions.
Yeah.
Drug treatment.
Yeah, everything. Foster care. You know. We want them off the street care.
So how many times? No. How many times do you waste money? How many times do you waste money?
If I can put Ron B where he needs to be at. If you can, I will.
Go ahead, Phil.
Go ahead, because I'm gonna tell you about yourself.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm listening. I ain't saying I need to go to prison. But I'm just saying.
I'm telling you.
I'm wondering where y'all
I'm gonna tell you this, Ron B. You can keep going till you're at 100. How many times I relapse before I decide prison ain't the place. It's not a number that you can come up with, because some person might get it the first time. Some people might get it 150 times. Some people might get, but prison's never the way where you to get it. You ain't gonna show me when the time you sent somebody to prison that got it. You know what I'm saying? They don't get it. You need no. We're not talking about drug addiction. We're not talking about drug addition.
No, I think
we're not talking about it.
So I think the question is, are you likely to harm someone else? Right? Because and who is in a position to adequately assess that? And they used to have a program that was a limited program. It was called Mincosa. Basically, the idea was, and the program was decent, but the idea was that you should have a circle of support. So your loved ones, people, if you have addiction problems, someone from treatment, maybe your sponsor, blah blah blah, and that's your circle of support, and that's the lens through which we make some of these conversations out. To me, that's a body that could do something like that. But there's also people who have a no drinking mandate on their parole. They don't have a drinking problem.
Right. A lot of times with the feds.
I think it's, there's a concept that's really important called harm reduction around addiction, where the idea is what you need to do is reduce harm as much as possible. That doesn't necessarily mean that you need to end drug use. And some people, they're way better off. Personally, some people are way better off without anything, right? You just say, no, I'm not going to deal with this, right? But some people, that's not really the problem, and some people, they're not at a point where that's going to be the solution right now. So the question is, what should you put in place? I don't think it's about a number, it's more about a situation, right? Also, what is the context that someone's in, right? If you're in a place where to walk down the street, you might be in danger. And you know what I mean? It's different.
Which brings me to another point.
Yeah.
I want to fill in on this one too.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna go ahead and say it right now.
Yeah.
Hypothetically speaking.
Yeah.
I'm a sex offender.
Yeah.
Say I'm a sex. Say for instance, I'm a sex offender.
Yeah. What have you done?
Say for instance, I raped my daughter.
Yeah.
And I spent X amount of years in prison. Now, I come to you as you're my counselor, you're my case manager, whatever.
Yeah.
And I tell you what I did. And I tell you that my daughter came to me and she let me know that she was sexually active, and I thought, who better to teach her about sex than me? So I committed sex acts on her. And I'm telling you this with no remorse. What is your assessment of me right now when I say that to you?
I'm not an expert on that shit, first of all. But that sounds pretty messed up to me. Right? And it sounds like something needs to be done about that, right?
But my deal is, if you told that to me, the first thing I'm going to look at is just the system failed. So how much time were you in prison? And it goes right back to what they're saying, what punishment.
Time doesn't matter.
No, listen to what I'm saying. Listen to what I'm saying. I'm saying, how long were you in prison? So all they got in their
for 25 years.
In their minds, they're like, we're going to put him in prison for 25 years, and that's going to solve the problem. It never solved. I don't care. You put him a million years to do. So my deal is like, okay, we need to figure out what the solution to this problem is, and it was not the 25 years. So now because he's coming out about to do the same thing to somebody else and reoffend, kill. If it was murder, if we was talking about a murder, he did 9 years. Now he's gonna get out.
So what's your?
My thing is,
do you say prison is for him?
No. I'm saying the problem is see what you're saying. You're talking over the conversation. The reason we made this restorative justice is because that's what's going on in almost all the cases. People are doing 15 years, 50 years, 60 years, and they're getting out because they had no connection to the community. Remember, they're cutting us off from our community, so when we get out, we're angry. Just like that. That's why I said I really wanted to watch this show, because we're angry when we get out. We're mad. I'm mad at my wife because I called her 5 years ago and she didn't pick up the phone. I know she was sleeping with somebody. I just got all this anger built up, and that's all that place does is make me angry. So of course, when this guy gets out, his mind ain't changed because he's been thinking about that garbage he did for the longest. So he's gonna come out. So instead of that, that's why I said restorative justice is so important, because we would have been able to heal this guy, figure out what made him do what he did. SO treatment doesn't do that. Figure out within the community, have people that he respects, so we cannot lie in this circle, and then have him tell us what makes you think, because it's gonna come back to abuse that he either seen or he's been experiencing, and we can deal with it. He's been taught that. He didn't just pick it up one day and go, oh, this is what I'm going to do. Somebody told him that made sense. Another elder, somebody he respected.
He imitating the behavior.
He's imitating the behavior. That's why he's continued to do that. And if we can get to the root and say, man, you was watching that Tom and Jerry show and whatever you took from it was wrong.
It's kind of like every time you watch a Bruce Lee flick or a karate flick, the kids, every time they watch it, they want to do karate afterwards.
They think they know, I'm going to jump in the end. Oh,
same thing.
Plug, brother, the brother.
I'm gonna tell you, I gave them a hypothetical situation. I said, hypothetically speaking, I'm a sex offender, and I committed a sex act against my own child.
Okay.
My child came to me and told me that she was wanting to be sexually active. My thinking, I say, who better than to teach her about sex than me? So I commit sex acts on my own daughter. What's better for me? Prison, treatment? What's better for me?
And what they tell them too now, they're getting ready to come out and they're continuing with that same thought process.
Yeah, they're out right now.
Yeah.
It's the same that he did.
Hypothetically speaking, I'm out right now, and I'm telling you this. You're my counselor. You're my case manager, you're whatever, and I tell you this, and I express it to you with no remorse, no thinking that I did anything wrong, that I was totally right at what I did.
I would say he would need treatment, but I would also recommend some prison time as well.
See, there's may not like a little bit different there. No. I like everything you say. Everything you say is valid. Everything you say is valid. But Mo said...
And I think the question, too, is like what... Again, it's almost like a harm reduction issue. Right? So the thing that we often don't talk about sexual violence is that most people who are victimized know the person who's victimizing them.
Right.
And most people who are victimizers don't just victimize strangers.
Right.
There's of course some exceptions to that, and those are the ones that make the biggest stories on the news because they're the scariest, right? You know, just like serial killers. We're talking like everyone in prison is a serial killer. You know, that's not true, right?
No.
So yeah, I mean, you kind of got, again, you need to kind of know what you're dealing with, and you know, I mean, I don't know.
There's a scripture that says, be not conformed to the things of this world, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind.
Right.
A lot of people would love to commit crimes, but they're afraid. Okay, that doesn't mean that he doesn't really have it in his heart.
Right.
Now for him, you could say that's a deterrent, but that doesn't work for everybody.
Right.
Because when I used to do things, I ain't sitting there wondering about, hey, the cops coming. You know what I'm saying? I would just do it.
Yeah.
So true repentance is when your heart really, like in Latin it says, to shuv, to turn away. That's real repentance. And that's where that book, you probably have read it, We Are All Criminals.
I haven't read that.
Yeah, I've only read little pieces of it. But basically that's what they were saying.
Yeah, and that's a cool book. Shout out Emily Baxter, who runs that group. And she basically goes and talks to people who've never been criminalized and has them anonymously tell their stories. And she uses it to make the point, particularly to middle class white people, like, you all done crimes?
Right.
I mean, you
right.
like what? And then what she does is then she says, okay, well, here's a crime with someone who never, they're a professional now, whatever. Here's someone who did the same crime, but look what happened to their life because of how the system intervened in that. You know what I mean? And so I think, yeah, it's really important to think about, like, what are we actually trying to do? And I mean, what was being pointed out is obviously this comes out of the slave system, right?
Right. Yeah.
So the criminal justice system is not designed to create a prosperous society. It's designed to target and destroy certain communities.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so the question is then, how do we stop it from doing that? And how do we create things that don't do that, right? And also, how do we break these cycles of violence within our own community, like in that film, right? I mean, you have this trauma introduced into a community, and then they repeating it. Right? And so part two about how restorative justice should be working, or transformative justice, whatever you want to call it, is that we need to be having these conversations in our communities about sexual violence, about healthy relationships, about crime, about, you know what I mean, about what it means to be a man, about, I mean, all sorts of things, right? And part of how we transform our communities, we engage these real problems. And the other thing about that she came with another video I showed him is that we know what causes violence, and we know that the way we respond to violence causes more violence. Because the things that have been shown to cause violence are shame, isolation, exposure to violence, and inability to meet your economic needs.
False pride.
Yeah, that too, yeah. Yeah. And what does prison do?
Exact same thing.
Break you down.
Yeah, it humiliates people, it isolates them, it makes them unable to meet their own economic needs, and exposes them to all sorts of violence.
Right, that's then it's purposeful.
Right. So if we're gonna start breaking these cycles in our community too, we have to change how we respond to some of these things. And we have to stop saying, oh, well, now you're a monster. You do something bad, you're a monster. So now fuck you, right? I mean, like, how are we ever gonna, you know, in every next generation of teenagers, we're gonna be like, okay, well, monsters. I mean, like, how long are we gonna do this?
Right.
You know?
Right.
And how long?
As long as they can keep making money off of it.
Right. And you know, the crazy thing too about, there's this book, it's called Incarcerating Our Own. It's written by son of, what's his name, Foreman, who was in the civil rights movement. And he talks about how the black community was convinced to co-participate in the war on drugs.
Right, well,
And the ways in which they, I mean, you know, and that's really, I mean, that's what we got to stop doing on this stuff. But we can't keep co-signing these narratives that some, you know, 18-year-old shoots someone and now they're a monster, and then we don't, you know, we want them to have, you know what I mean?
Rappers are co-participating right now. Well, they're building the private prisons. They're funding them.
But the thing about it is that it's like, I wanted to piggyback on just the black community, Negro community, whatever you want to call them, these elitists in their minds who want to assimilate to this program have joined, because you look at a lot of these leaders that they've been given to us. You know, you look at people like Al Sharpton, you look at people like Reverend Jesse Jackson, you look at all these individuals who are being appointed to us to lead us, who have sold us out at the end of the day, for sponsorship to Ford or endorsement by, you know, grants and monies and things like that, in order to be the spokesperson for us, and in turn, as this violence has been pushed into our community, we sought less of our elders, and we sought more of this institutional, correctional, Leo response, right?
Foster care system and
for all that,
I mean, all these things.
Remember, I started saying that before, we didn't believe in the criminal justice system. We were convinced that it didn't work, because it didn't work, right? So they sold us on it eventually, that these programs work, even with education. We need Brown versus the Board of Education. We need to have good white teachers teach these individuals, which we had our own education. We had our own education. We had teachers who cared about us, and broke down that system. So as we moved into these systems, what we did come up with is that, like I said, like great point, David, about how we were part and partial to locking so many black males up, because we wanted them out of our communities, because they were menace to societies. But we never went any further to say, how did this dope or these guns get into our community, and why are they here? You know what I'm saying? So
you never tried to help that dude and ask him, why is he doing this? You need some help, brother. Can I help you?
We knew
we ain't never do none of that.
We knew what was going on. We knew that economically our communities were being depressed. There were a lot of jobs that were once in our communities were removed. So in turn, you want to feed your family, take this dope, go sell it.
And that's where reparations is so crucial, right? Because, I mean, you can't, I mean, it's like to expect people who have the least in society to be the ones who make sure everyone has enough to be okay, like, right? I mean, that's a losing proposition.
Yeah.
And it's set up to be a losing proposition, you know, so, yeah.
Somebody pointed out something, that was at, we were at the Shakopee March, and the female in the blue and white talked about how every individual group received reparations in America.
Except
Naomi Keynes, I think she talks about, and it's not obviously every group, but yeah, the Japanese got reparations.
Look, the Irish police force. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that wasn't reparations.
Well, I'm just saying a job. They came in. They had jobs. All we need is jobs.
Yeah, I mean,
we're not asking for you to give us a handout. We're just saying make us economically sound, so we don't need to have a profession that that we could go into. Just you know. I don't mean reparations like I don't mean reparations like a check. I just mean economic. When I say economic, I'm a scope it and tell you what I mean. What I mean is just the ability to not have to turn to drugs. Our reparations
or
drugs.
to the welfare system.
Our drugs.
But also
or the welfare system and Section 8 and all that.
Yeah,
how much of the violence right now, if you legalize drugs, every white community formed their own gangs to sell liquor in prohibition. We know about them, right? You know, they were glorified.
They're still glorified.
NASCAR was started.
You know,
they're still glorified.
So NASCAR was
still glorified.
So the questions. I mean, we know what happens when you prohibit something. I mean, we know. So yeah, I don't know. That's a whole nother conversation. But it just seems like it's a setup.
See, I worked briefly with reparations in Chicago. This back in the mid-90s. I really thought almost we were going to make it happen. But you'd be surprised at how many black people were against it.
What?
Sure as I'm sitting here, it's astounding.
Now, when you say
don't nobody owe you nothing.
When you say okay, I was going to ask you what were they saying? What were
they say stuff like that.
Yeah,
you know. Oh, that was, I even heard, you know, that's 200 or 300 years. Get over it. And I hate people when they say that.
Right.
I said, everybody else can talk about their atrocities. The minute we start talking about ours,
forget about
it's a problem.
Yeah, forget about it.
Yeah.
But see, there's a thing that this country can never do, and that's apologize.
Right.
See, they would be admitting something that they cannot never make themselves do. And that has to go with reparations. And that's the part that keeps holding it. If anybody should be justified, it's us.
Right.
And it's our money anyway.
Right.
So all this money that, you know, this grant money and all the rest of this stuff is really our money.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because this country was built on our backs.
And it is, and it still is.
And also look how much money they printed for COVID. They printed enough money to pay reparations. I mean, they printed like what, $10 trillion for COVID? I mean, like this is the thing. Like it's very clear that it's doable.
Yeah, it's very doable.
See, but talking like this, having conversations like this, people think you're crazy because it's like they call it like a radical conversation. But it's really true.
Yeah.
But the thing is that society is sold on us being conformist.
Right. Well,
you know. And so when you talk outside of the box,
you're radical.
You become radical.
You need to be dealt with.
And that's why people need to be educated.
Well, to the truth, that's why the platform is set up. This is IGSTS, SF Mo, man.
Ron, be in the middle.
And I think it's very important that we do get, that's why it's so important for us to bring individuals like you guys on here to tell the truth, because where else you going to be able to tell this truth? And how people, and it's time for them to start realizing what the truth looks like and understanding it. That's why I said when I started with the dandelion story, you know, I just wanted to circle around to truth, what we believe, what is true, and how that truth has been removed for us. We know what the truth is. We used to. I mean, it's in us, like it's in me. But I've been sold a lie that I believe. And I believe it holistically. Like we believe that somehow prison works. And you're going to argue up and down, somehow police works. Police works. What do you mean? We can police ourselves. We have no ability, and those individuals we can't, maybe they need to be placed in a place. But most people believe.
You can say all day long that we can police ourselves.
Right.
But let me ask you this question. Outside of this neighborhood right here,
right,
are we gonna police ourselves?
No, we're not. You can't see. You keep building on top of stuff. It's like me saying, it's dandelion bad. Oh, they're definitely bad. I just know because they're just.
Because you've seen the community.
No,
but I think it's an important question. I think it's a strategy question.
Mm-hmm.
Because we live in a society where all the resources are controlled by a small group of people, and so. Are there resources to create community safety systems that would benefit everyone? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Are we going to police ourselves if you just took the police away?
No, we can't. Nobody. I got to go to work.
And that's why we have to build solutions. And Philip was always talking about this is our money, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We have to build solutions that demand that our money.
Yeah.
And this is really what they were trying to do with defund the police.
Yeah.
That was the idea: is that we're going to take our money from the police, and we'll take them to the community, and the community's going to create alternatives with our money anyway, right? That was the concept.
Mm-hmm.
It got played as like get rid of all the police today.
But again, we go IGSTS. The narrative was then hijacked, and it became. Ron B said, "What are you going to do without any police on the street?" That's what you're talking about. Who the hell said that? No, I'm saying that it was never the conversation.
Yeah.
That's the conversation they want you to, like you were some radical that lost your damn mind.
Yeah.
Of course, if you had no police on the streets, this is a capitalist society. People going to be running in people's houses. It's going to, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about community organizations being able to maintain.
You got to get them in place before you get rid of the
police. Are never there when the crimes are being committed anyway. They, it's good if they even show up afterwards.
Yeah.
So think about it in this context. Any other type of business or group, now they're really telling on themselves if they're saying crime is so overwhelming, we need more cops. But see, it's a reverse play. So when the crime suddenly and mysteriously, always when we talk about
it started to go jack up.
When it comes up,
it started to
we need more cops.
We need it,
Because there's a thing that's inbred in us that we think something's going to happen. Cops roll up and down our streets all day. Right there on Plymouth, where the cop station is.
Yeah.
There's an open drug market that's been going on for years. Right there on Knox.
You ain't said nothing. Yeah.
Like Jay Gregory said. He said, how come I can find the dope house and the cops can't find it?
Say that again,
I never heard that. He said it funnier than I'm saying it. We actually laughed.
This brother said, I'll find a drug house and the cops can't.
So that's no accident. But see, we're looking at it in a reverse way because
the cops ain't trying to find a dope house.
No, they're not.
They know what it is.
They don't.
Yes, same thing. And they get in the cut. I mean, this is the thing. I mean,
I'm sorry, I cut you off.
And who?
No, that's all right.
And who is the biggest drug dealer in the world?
Pharmaceuticals in my world.
Sure, and the U.S. government. Where's all the cheap heroin coming from? Afghanistan. Where was the United States for the last 20 years? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if you know this history, but Britain wanted the stuff that China had.
I saw, opium wars.
And Britain had nothing that China wanted. So the only thing China would take was silver or gold. Well, there's only so much silver or gold in the world, and the British were sad that all of it was ending up in China.
Right.
So they started selling drugs, heroin, opium, in China. And China said, you can't do that. And so they went to war to make sure that China would be allowed to sell drugs to China.
In China.
And that's it.
and that's just the beginning of people using. And we obviously know that the CIA brought drugs into black communities in this country. It's well documented.
And guns.
Yeah, exactly. It's no longer a conspiracy theory. It's known, right?
And nobody's done. You're talking about accountability. There's not been no accountability to that. No. We know. I had a conversation about the real Rick Ross and how he was the only person charged in this big Iran-Contra situation that brought that dope into that community.
Ronald Reagan's government.
Nobody wants to talk about it. He was the greatest person that was ever in America. That's what they want to talk about. He was great. Why was he great? Who's saying that? He was great for you guys. But he's the reason why he was great. The craziest story I ever heard when I was sitting in prison I was dealing with a guy who was out of California. He was transferred, bring him. You know, he knew about the drug trade extremely well. And one day he was talking to me. He was talking about a Uzi, and he's like, I was in California and I looked at the gun. The gun Uzi's being made in Israel. How the hell does a gun made in Israel get in California unless they are not the individuals bringing them over there? Because remember how big Uzis was in the 90s? Everybody talking about Uzi. Where are they coming from? We're not going over there negotiating Uzi deals and bringing that gun into our community. It got over there because they allowed those guns to be over here. And allowed those guns to be in California. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So if I can say that to you, it's not hard for you to stretch out and understand why crack cocaine came into our neighborhood and why they were so inked and they was in a frenzy. If you ever read that 100-to-1, the policy that funded 100-to-1, if you go into it, prior to the 70s, there weren't that many prisons in the United States of America, especially on the Fed side. It was very few. They weren't locking up a lot of people. But let me just tell you that once before the 100-to-1 actually came out, they were funding prisons because they knew how many individuals they're about to lock up. So that goes back to your Florida, how many prisons in Florida. They knew they were about to lock up.
They got 143 correctional facilities, just this state.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Now, they have Mariana, Tallahassee, Miami. They have 3 more federal institutions there. So that's 146 total correctional institutions in one state.
Yeah, that's crazy. And I mean, in some sense, in that way, we're lucky, right? Minnesota has a smaller prison system.
I disagree with that, but I'm gonna let you know.
Yeah, no, you can tell me. I mean, I just think we're fighting a smaller monster in some type of way, and we're more able to shrink it and kill it, I think.
You can count Minnesota institutions on 2 hands, maybe.
No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
There's also how it functions.
Because you could also say, you can look at anything on paper and be like, when number wise, when you say they only have 4 or 5 prisons, that's great. When you look at their statistics, their numbers, the disproportionalities, the rates that they're incarcerated, they're duplicating what the other bigger Florida, Texas, New York, Chicago are doing on a smaller scales, but it's identical. So that makes me believe that it's systematic.
So it's the incarceration rates are lower in Minnesota. The incarceration disparities are higher.
Right.
So they're locking up a higher percentage of Black folks.
Right.
And a higher percentage of Native folks.
Right.
But the total, in comparison to whites, like the ratios are higher. But the total incarceration rate is lower. So the total percentage of society locked up in Minnesota is less than in Florida, I believe.
Yeah, it is, definitely. It's way less.
No, but not just the total number, but also the percentage.
Yeah.
So Florida's locking up a higher percentage.
Definitely. But I'm saying that if you just look at it in a standpoint of I have 10 cents or I have $1, it's still 50% when you look at the statistics. Like the numbers still look the same. Like if I showed you a statistic, you will see 35% of Blacks, and and then you'll see 40% whites, but Blacks only make less than 1% of this population. So when you start doing the numbers,
Blacks are 5 times overrepresented.
It still matches up with national numbers. In fact, you start saying it's more than national numbers. So you can say they're just chopping off a pinky at a time. The country might be chopping out an arm, but you're still losing a body part.
But if Minnesota had twice as many people in prison, it'd be the same percentage. It's even more Black folks.
Yeah, they get away with it because it's such a small number. People, that's what we had the problem with the death penalty. When Minnesota went away, didn't want the death penalty on the table, what it did is that it moved this state, not us, because it moved the state away from any scrutiny because they weren't giving people the death penalty. The only time you get these civil organizations around is when you have the death penalty. And it makes sense because that's where they want to spend their money at. But Minnesota's been able to get away with a lot of stuff because they're not on the national radar. You don't get the groups and organizational legal clinics in here because they're in Texas, they're in Florida, they're in California, they're different places like that. George Floyd brought some of this.
George Floyd. Tap into what you just said. Now, the racism that's practiced here is the most deceitful I've ever dealt with. Now, he remembers his sister, spelled the name Al Flowers, introduced me to her.
Okay.
Her name was Tanisha. Okay, so she had a plug with Van Jones with CNN. So I meet her, this is February. And then, you know, I met a lot of people through her. So COVID hit. So we had to do this little thing on TV. I met Dr. King's son. It was real nice.
Okay.
So I asked her, I said, well, you know what I do? Get us on CNN. She got back to me. She said, oh, Philip, she said, they don't think Minnesota has a race problem.
Yeah.
They don't want to talk about it.
That's how deceitful it is.
Well, that's what Minnesota's done. I mean, that's been their strategy, right?
They are I tell you, they're the best.
Foxy Fox. Yeah.
Because they don't do it like Texas. It's not so brutal. It's more
Minnesota nice.
Until George Floyd.
Well, that put them on blast. That put them on blast.
When George Floyd hit, she said, oh, I can get us. But then her sister ended up having a nervous breakdown. As a matter of fact, I haven't heard from her from that day to this. Had a bad nervous breakdown. But she had us plugged in because that opened everybody's eyes.
I know it from being in the prison system and seeing some cases come out and how they have all this in California. You'll have it in Texas. You'll have it Arizona, New York, Illinois. You'll have some sense
the legal infrastructure is not here
of urgency when you write to somebody and they'll see the conditions that you're in and they'll represent. But Minnesota. What are you talking about? Treat black folks good. It's promised land. It's promised land.
Let me tell y'all another fun fact about President Obama's presidency. I was in prison in Florida, and we were in the day room playing poker. This white guy sees Obama come on the TV screen. And mind you, it's probably 20 to 10 ratio white guys to black guys in the TV room at that time. The white guy, he starts ranting and raving about President Obama, how he hates him and this and that, and he's real boisterous about his opinion about him and stuff like that. So this one black guy, in every prison you got a barnyard boss. The barnyard boss is the bully of the dorm, the shot caller of the dorm, the one who everybody in the dorm is afraid to get into an argument with or a fight with or anything with. So the barnyard boss, he hears this dude. He snatches him up, slams his head into the table. He says, don't you ever say nothing about my president. That's my motherfucking president. Don't you ever say nothing about me. And he commences to slamming his head into the table about talking smack about President Obama. And dude's just talking to the TV. He's not actually saying it to Obama, but the dude got so mad about it.
Tell us about that work release program, and then we can y'all can give our shots out, so we can break from here. But I really wanted to. This is something really super interesting, and we're trying to push this agenda. And I'm going to bring David back so we continue to talk about this because this is instrumental. I know I talk a lot about my hatred of prison, and I think a prison should be abolished. I know Ron being
that was one of the things I hated, man. I hated to see that when that happened, man. I did not want to see that. Traumatized me. I never will forget that.
Dude,
when I seen that happen like that. Yeah. This dude just talking to the TV, man. Why are you tripping?
And what I was gonna say, Ron B, is that I talk about prisons being abolished, and you always say that doesn't make any sense. The abolish prisons. What are you going to do with the people? Well, David's got a solution, not about abolishing prisons, but how to alleviate a lot of that prison overcrowding.
The mass incarceration.
Incarceration, which I believe everybody who's come to the podcast and talking about education is one of the solutions to people being in, because it shows, mathematics shows, the more you get educated, the less likely you're going to go to prison, back to prison, I should say. The other thing is, if you get a trade, you learn how to have something to do. If you can do something with your hands, like you work all these jobs, you're too busy to cause crime because you're working all the time. Mm-hmm. So David's going to hook us up.
So y'all know what work release is? Mm-hmm. So just for people who don't know, work release is where people are placed in the community to work or go to college prior to their incarceration being over. They're still officially incarcerated, but they're in the community.
Right.
And the crazy thing about this is that in Minnesota work release, the law says that you can qualify for work release once you've done half your term of imprisonment.
Half your time. You
qualify. I heard you talk about this at Shakopee.
Yeah.
You qualify.
Yeah.
Qualify.
So that means the commissioner has the power, once someone has done half their time, to say, okay, cool, let's put you in the community to go to college, to work a real job at non-slave wages, to rebuild your community connections, to get reacclimatized. Not only does this improve people's outcomes and reduce crime and get people money and get their families money, it also saves the prison money.
Yep.
And the crazy thing is, they don't use it like the law says. So in the Minnesota Department of Corrections, even though you could get work release at half your time, under the DOC policy, which they can change this fast.
That's fast. That fast.
That you can change that fast. You can only get work release your last year.
Which makes no sense.
That 3-card money game you talking about.
Yeah.
It don't make no sense. He just said half your time, so I'm doing 8 years. My 4th year, I could go out and start making money to help my family, my wife. My daughter needs to go to college. She wants some brand new shoes.
I need to pay my fine
forget the fine. I'm just saying, just
you
help.
Get your drive. I mean,
whatever you need. Accumulate some money because you're about to get out in 4 years. How much money can you save in 4 years? Doing a regular, not MnCore jobs, 50 cents, $1, $3. I'm making a lot of money.
Well, I saved $10,000 in 5.5 months.
I'm just telling you, what the comparison was going out making money, self-determination. Making your own money, or working for the man making his money, because you ain't getting nothing. You're not getting anything really when you look at MnCore money.
And so what's crazy about this too is that the current Department of Corrections administration says,
Paul Snell, I'm talking to you,
says that they're for rehabilitation. This is an existing law. The Department of Corrections' own research shows helps with rehabilitation. That they're not using to the fullest extent that they could, and not even close to the fullest extent. Because right now, 75% of people in prison have done half their term of imprisonment.
Right.
So 75% of people could qualify
and be out,
and 20% of people in prison not only have they done half their time, the Department of Corrections' own risk assessment tool says that they are low risk. So that may be that I committed a murder 10 years ago, and I've had good behavior for the last 10 years, and I've done my programming, and I'm in a good place. That may be that I, came in on a theft, and I was, whatever, right? But according to the Department of Corrections, 20% of their prisoners are low risk and have done half their time.
Paul Snell.
And so this is 1,600 people that could be working out here in a time when everyone's trying to find workers to get into some real career jobs, to bring money and people back in our communities.
Right.
So, and it doesn't take no change in the law because it's already on the books.
Just follow your laws.
So literally, the commissioner and the governor, either of them, have the authority to make this change by themselves.
Ron B in the middle says
that
they're going to say that they don't have the bed space in the work release facilities for that many people.
Well, and doing...
They have said that.
And doing the crazy thing, do you know how they can expand that bed space? They can just license whoever they want. Because they license who can get, which facilities can house work release people.
Or just turn one whole facility into a work release facility.
Well, so you right now you do
one of the prisons.
So, but the thing is, right now you do either at county jails, you do it at halfway houses, or you do it at county approved programs.
Right. Or don't they do a minimum?
So minimum, you'd go out and work, but it's not work release.
Okay, it's not work. So I was
right. So work release, you're
I did that.
Yeah. So work release, you're in the community, and you sleep. Maybe you sleep in county jail, but you're out the whole day.
Yeah. So to be workhouse.
But also, ideally, it's not just workhouse for 5-10 years, right? Ideally, you're earning your way to, okay, now you're in a halfway house. Now you're in just a
transformation,
home.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now you're in your own apartment.
Right.
The other thing that it does is it pays your housing. So that when you come out, you don't have to scramble for housing, which is the hardest thing to find right now.
Right.
So it guarantees that people just have to work about the job and not the job and the housing and the, you know what I mean?
Right.
And it directly shows you a way that you don't have to turn back to the streets right away. You got a chance to save money and build. Now you don't have to say, well, damn, I ain't got no crib.
But that's what they want you to say. That's what they want. Remember,
I gotta go get me a pack.
Remember what David said. Remember what David said. Like the 4 reasons. One of the reasons, economic depression. You're not being able to meet your economic needs. So when you can't meet your economic needs, the first thing you're gonna do, just like a stripper tell me, I'm gonna go back to what I know. I'm gonna grab my duffel bag and hit the track. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what you know you're gonna do. But if I tell you, listen, man, you don't have to do that. I got housing set up for you. I got meals set up for you, and I got a job set up for you.
You get out of prison with $100 gate fee that they give you.
Maybe I got $500.
It's $500 now.
I got $500. Yeah, but $100 you get $100 for less than a year.
The feds don't give you that. The feds don't give you that.
Yeah, but
it's probably like $100
how many
or $50
apartments can
or
you rent for $500?
Shit, you can't do nothing with $100. You get gas costs $50.
What can you
fill up your tank?
You ain't on no paper, no nothing. You expired in prison. Now all your paper is done. You got $500.
Yeah.
Your baby mama gone. Your family gone. Nobody else want nothing to do with you because you couldn't get it together. You in prison. This your 5th time in prison. What are you gonna do with that $500?
Nothing.
Huh?
I'm gonna go get high.
No, you're gonna go buy a pack and
I'm just telling you. In my mind,
get a hotel room for $50 to get a pack and work that room.
Yeah. And
if you could, I'm just telling you.
And what percentage of people released by the Department of Corrections last year are currently homeless?
I'd say all of them.
According to the Department of Corrections, it's 25%.
I say all of them.
Which to me is incredibly high, despite the fact that you think it's probably higher.
I'm going to say
it may very well be higher.
Because I want to see what the specs are on that. Because I mean, living in a halfway house is not homelessness, but you're homeless. Yeah. Living in a shelter is homeless, but it's not. You got a place to go. So how do they qualify for living in a hotel?
Well,
it's not homeless.
At the halfway house where I work at right now, it's people there that are not on probation, parole.
They just because they can't find housing.
They was on work release, but now they want to continue to stay there so they can continue to save their money and find a better way at life, find a better apartment. So they stay there because they can save better there.
Yeah.
But they're not technically homeless because they're paying their way there.
But I'm saying that's the gray area. They are homeless.
They're paying their way to stay there.
Transitional housing.
Transitional housing. But in any case,
they have jobs.
In any case, we know that is super difficult, right?
Right.
And the fact that we're not using this program that makes it a lot easier,
right,
is ridiculous.
I'm gonna take it one step further for you. It's like, think about somebody like Jafar, who's been locked up for 30 years. So think about what was present when he was in prison and what's present now, and then you throw him into society where he can't even turn a stove on. You know, he can't even turn a car on.
TV.
So to go half and then at least be getting out into the world so you can start seeing things change and experiencing it prior to getting out. So you know certain things, what's going on. Because when I got out, I wasn't locked up for a long time, but I was locked up long enough to have things change so drastically. When I got out, I didn't know how to start a car that had a push button. I didn't know. My daughter tells you like, Dad, you can't even drive the car. You don't know how to turn the car on.
I met somebody last night that's been locked up 31 years.
I'm just saying, so what does he's out now in society and he can't even function because there's so much, everything's distraction now.
You know the most blessed thing he told me last night about his whole incarceration? His wife stayed with him through the whole 31 years.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. If you can have something like that, that's not the norm. That's not the norm.
But that shouldn't be normal. I mean, you shouldn't have. I mean,
but the society, the structure system pulls the family apart, and it's designed to do that too.
She told him. I took them vows And I abide by
it's
them vows.
she's an old school. Very few people.
31 years she stayed with that man.
I'm just telling you, if he was able to help out with that household while he was in prison, it would have made the relationship last a lot longer because you can contribute.
And also, if you know that, hey, if I get my stuff together, I can do half my sentence in the community.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what I mean? Beautiful. Like it's gonna change. It can help change everyone's mindset too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna look that policy up.
So yeah, and it's this. So the statute is 244.065 is the law.
Say it again for me, please.
244.065. That's the law.
You hear that, Paul Snell?
Yeah, he's aware of the law.
Yeah, apparently he's not.
Follow it.
Apparently he's not.
And then the policy I don't remember was called the work release policy.
I'm gonna put this on my YouTube. No, not YouTube. I'm gonna put it on my TikTok. And I'm going to put it on Instagram because I think this is a PSA. Yeah. This is a public service announcement that individuals that we're running around here thinking that they have to go all the way to the end of their sentence and, you know,
to the last year
and pray. No, yeah, a lot of people, you start the process. Mm-hmm. And then I see people like 90 days, 120 days, maybe 6 months. They're going to a county jail to get into work release. I see that, but because it takes a while.
I did work release in Minnesota. They gave me my last 8 months.
That's what I'm saying. It's usually not a year, a full year. Usually you're into your sentence agreement, almost getting ready to go home, so they can get it. And then
how much did you save in the last 8 months?
At that time I was still being a bad guy. I was still selling drugs while I was in work release and everything. I was probably about 19, 20 years old then. I'm 47 now. Mm-hmm. And I didn't learn my lesson. Were
you able to save some money? Was they doing because I know that they was doing, remember that pillow, My Pillow? Remember My Pillow, that dude that come on late night, do those infomercials? Yeah. I was in a county jail. I was in regular prison with a guy going to work for his company. And I was like really offended because not so much about the whole deal, but that's me in my past. But they was only paying him like $1 and something to work at that company. Mm-hmm. So I'm wondering, when you were doing it, was it regular wages or was it reduced wages? Do you remember?
I didn't work at My Pillow.
No, I'm saying whatever job they gave you. Did you make your money or did you have to with regular wages? Do you remember?
When I was at Light on Lakes, we went out in the community. And we worked, and you had two different crews. You had a crew that went and built houses. Then you had another crew that went out and just fixed door frames on houses in like North Minneapolis and stuff like that. We got paid $40 a week.
Yeah, it's not real wages.
And the guys who built the houses, they got paid like $400 a week, but they would put $300 of that money into an escrow account for them, and they would get $100 or something like that.
That's what I was basically trying to get around, get at too, because even the programming, how much money you make has changed because back in the days you were able to be in the joint and actually make regular wages. Remember the DOC was in there. And, I mean the MnDOTs was in there, and you Well, no, MnDOTs. They used to fix the plow trucks.
Oh, I didn't know
that. Back a while ago, they had everything. They was making good money. Yeah. And that's where the flips come. So it's somewhere in between that, somewhere area with that they figured out, just like you said, the best solution is to continue to have them come back to prison, remove any economic stability from them. And more than likely, you're going to make the wrong choice. Mm-hmm. You're going to get that hotel room. You're going to either start selling dope, smoking dope, doing whatever you usually do, and end up back in prison.
I seen guys leave prison back then with like $16,000, $20,000.
That's what I'm saying. I think they don't want that.
Yeah, I seen guys leaving prison.
Yeah, and that's what I'm talking about.
And that's the crazy thing is the wages in prison here in the 80s is higher than the wages in prison now, and the cost of $1 has gone way down. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So people were making way more money. Mm-hmm. Like in the 80s in prison than they are now.
Yeah. You guys want to shout out before we end? Just shout out individuals.
IWOC.
I'm gonna give a shout out to you brothers because this is very vital and needed.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. No.
Come on, man.
Well, I mean, one thing that wasn't mentioned but was talked about a little bit is that, some people got more college in prison and they're getting more paralegals in prison. So the legal revolution is pretty cool. We need more lawyers to sue the system.
Yeah, definitely.
And so it's good to see that starting to build.
SAF more your prison lawyer.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And then just, I think shout out to everyone who's fighting for their loved one in prison, and everyone who's sticking with their person in prison and staying connected and making those phone calls and getting them money or helping them out. This shit is insane. Yeah. And really, if everyone who was supporting their loved one in prison was getting together to support all the people in prison, we wouldn't have prison.
Yeah.
So just shout out to the fact that we are doing the work that we need to do to tear this thing down. We just need to figure out how to do the work together.
Amen. And I want to say that March, everybody who watched this, we're going to be at Stillwater on the week after Father's Day. It's the Sunday after Father's Day.
We haven't said that yet, but we probably will.
Let's just stay tuned. But I want everybody to start mobilizing. We're going to start organizing because I felt like every year that I was in prison during Father's Day, I really was sad and depressed because with so many men, so many uncles,
75% of men in prison are
grandfathers, so many fathers, so many cousins, so many nephews locked up. And the phones at that time wasn't even busy on that Sunday. Visiting wasn't even busy like you would think it would be, on those days. At the point where you should, like holiday, everybody's on the phone because they're calling home and talking to their kids. To me, it was like more reflection time, just remembering, that I was away from my family and how much I missed individuals. That's what Father's Day was for me, because it was just like, that was my day, you know what I'm saying? And I couldn't be with my family, nobody. And it really hurt me. But I would be more depressed when I looked around me and seen all these bodies that were sitting here that either didn't remember. It's been so long that they forgot what that meant to them, or the ones who did, and we tried to cook, make a meal, and it wasn't the same, but we did the best we could. So I'm definitely, if it does happen, I'm definitely gonna be there.
Oh shit, we'll have to make it happen, man.
Ron B, what you got to say?
Shout out to the convicted felons doing better than the people with no felonies.
I want to say this too. I learned something at the Nexus community meeting. I want to practice it because XFMO, I get over energized and stuff like that. But they showed me something how to, because we come into the circle. This is a circle. We came in circle. We and I feel like every circle I come into nowadays, I'm coming to the circle to learn something, build, and then go off to take what I learned and give it to other people.
That's right.
And I think that's what we did here today. We came, we talked, we politic, we built, we made ourselves stronger. And with that, I think we should start practicing a de-escalation of the emotions. What I learned is a volcano. And I want you guys to practice it with me. That volcano release. I don't know what they're called, but everybody gonna know what I'm doing. So put your hands together, like you're praying. Take them up, explode, release. Put your hands together. All that negative energy, take it out. One more time. Hands together, up, release. And it's a wrap.
All right. I got something to say.
Go.
I got something to say.
To the convicted fellas doing better than the people with no felonies.
Say it again.
Shout out to the convicted fellas doing better than the people with no felonies.
Yeah. And this is SAF Mo, your prison lawyer. And we just want to thank everybody who came out, kicked it with us, showed us love. And I want to thank the ladies. I want to thank the community at Nexus community for inviting me into their conversation.
And shout out to Philip and Dave from IWOC.
And shout out to the ladies who came out on to Shakopee and demonstrated, and told their truths, and did it nonviolent, and did it because they still care about the people in there. We need to get more of the community involved in things like that.
There were some women there at that march that were in prison at Shakopee.
They did. One lady did,
and they just
20 years.
They didn't have no family members in there. They just knew people that was in there with them, they came back to show support.
And that's important. That's what we have to do. because out of sight, locked up, out of sight, out of mind is what this Eurocentric institutions do. And we got to remember that a lot of those individuals coming back home,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and we don't want them coming back home. And that's why I'm going to point to, remember that little demo we just watched about that First Nation deal that was. I forget the name of it.
Something water.
Yeah, I forget the name of it. I forget the name of it.
But you're gonna make me put it up on the screen.
But the thing about it is that the reason I pointed that out and I thought it was truly important is because these natives, First Nation individuals didn't want to use this Eurocentric system, and they was able to solve their problems. And they had the worst problem. They said they had child molestation in their community, running rapid. But it wasn't because of them. It's because those Euros came in, conquered them, and did the same thing to them. So they were repeating behavior. They were repeating that behavior.
Yeah.
You know, it's a trait. Usually, hurt people.
We gotta get the name exactly right too. We gotta talk about this. That was very important.
And that's the reason I put it up there, where I'm being in the middle. The reason I said that I wanted y'all to watch it is because I thought that when I seen it last night, I said, I don't want to watch this by myself. I want to be around the brothers and watch this community, how they solve their own problem. And everybody thinks
it's called Hollow Water.
Hollow Water. It's on YouTube. It's on YouTube, but it's also on that link that I sent you. The whole 45 minutes of it.
You get about 12 minutes of it on YouTube, but you get the gist of it. You get what's going on with it, and it make you go back and find out what the whole story is.
The whole story, and I thought the whole story is we can live by the example. And I don't know the numbers of once they instituted this within their community, but I can tell you it was a lot better than the criminal justice system about recidivism.
Their community came together and solved the crimes in their community, healed the crimes in their community, and stopped the crimes in their community.
Yeah. And why can't we do that? Why can't we?
Without the police.
Without the police.
But
without these institutions that employ judges and prosecutors who are married to the detective that lock people up. Why can't? That's what I'm saying. That's where the corruption falls in. When you give these people this money and a blanket check. Remember what another thing that David pointed out. But David pointed out he told us how much does it cost for a county to send an individual to prison? Who said? That's why they so intent to send you there, because it don't cost no money to send you there, right? If they had to pay money every time the county had to pay money every time they send somebody to prison, they'd be looking at diversion programs because they don't want to send you to prison. So I'm just saying, people. I'm just saying that support us.
The diversion program is more proven.
It works
to stop crime and bring the crime rate down, bring the recidivism rate down. All of that. It's way better than sending somebody to prison.
Bo Rah talks about that. And I want you to check episode 21, Bo Rah. Shout out to Bo Rah. You know what I'm saying? I hope you're doing good. I haven't spoken to you a while. I haven't texted you. But
I said, what's up?
I'm like, man, such a bright light, such an inspirational person. Man, I just since I watched the episode, and Bo it's just a gift, you know, for somebody like that to be in a criminal justice system.
A gym.
You know what I'm saying? We need to build those people up. You know, so this is SAF Mo, your prison lawyer, with my man
Ron B in the middle. Shout out to them Victor fellas doing better than people with no felonies.
SAF Mo, you know that's SAF
Well,
this is SAF Mo, your prison lawyer. SAF Mo, your prison lawyer. SAF Mo, your
I got something to say.
More than ever now,